In West Virginia, sports aren't just a game. They are a ritual passed down through every hollow and hilltop. We celebrate the legends who define our state. This is Game On.
And welcome into the debut episode of Game On, a sports show focused on high school, college, and pro sports around the great state of West Virginia. I'm Anthony Lewis in the Stone Church studio with Jay Hewitt and Autumn Martin. Folks, welcome to Game On. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fine, Anthony. How are you, buddy?
Well, I'm kind of tired. It's been a long weekend with all the sports from last week.
The girls' tournament, the boys' tournament kind of added up.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that. First and foremost, for the listeners, you're probably tuning in and you're like, wait a minute. This is not the show that I usually listen to in this time slot. This is the debut episode of Game On. And, of course, I'm Anthony Lewis, Jay Hewitt, former WVU University of Charleston basketball. Autumn, tell us a little bit about you. The listeners already know Jay a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your background and some of the sports that you played growing up and where you played and where you grew up. Jay, I don't know if you know this or anything or not, but Autumn is a huge, social media star.
That's what I heard. Excuse me.
I did not know this about in our initial conversations. I didn't know this about her, but as I learned more and more about her, I am now finding myself clicking on links and checking out her stuff that she's some of the organizations that she's partnered up with. Autumn, I appreciate you joining us. And,
absolutely. Good to have you, Autumn.
Yeah, being a part of the show, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. First and foremost, I am from Sissonville, West Virginia, born and raised. I went to all the Sissonville schools, graduated from Sissonville High School, and I played basketball and soccer at Sissonville. Went to West Virginia Wesleyan on a soccer scholarship and got injured and transferred home, finished my degree at the University of Charleston. I've worked in sports for over a decade. My uncle owns a sports company, and I have worked for him since basically the start of the company when I was, 16, 17 years old, just doing little things for him, and then eventually got into the actual sports reporting aspect of it. And I've just always loved sports. We are a sports household. I always talk about how I don't watch TV unless it's sports. I'm watching football, I'm watching basketball, but you won't catch me watching a soap opera or anything like that. That's I'm a sports girl. So that's a little bit about me.
So in our initial meeting, it's the weirdest thing how we kind of linked up, and when we were putting this whole thing together, it started through a social media chain, and then she texted me and she was like, I'm talking about sports and how long she's been into it. And then we started putting things together. Like I used to work with her Uncle Dana through RSN Sports and my relationship through high school sports. And then I discover all these things about her in the process. So this was, I think, meant to be once. And then when she told me we were going through the kind of like a get to know you phase, and she tells me, well, I watch a lot of sports, especially so I can do my gambling. I was like, oh, well, she's hired.
Yeah, you're a gambler too.
I'm a big sports gambler. I love parlays.
That's
love,
awesome.
especially during football season, NFL parlays are my bread and butter, and we can definitely talk about that more come season.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of insight on that, and I have a lot of big hits in my under my belt.
Yeah, so she's going to give us some gambling tips, too.
I could use some. When reality TV was so big a few years ago, you mentioning you only watch sports on TV. I've always been an only sports watcher too, pretty much. I watched like Breaking Bad, a few random shows, but mainly sports. I remember thinking, when reality was so big, why don't you just watch sports? That's the best reality TV there's ever been and ever will be.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Well, so over last week, we all caught up at different times. We were meeting, and I was running into you guys at the West Virginia State basketball tournament. And first of all, just let me get your overall reactions of the tournament, the competition levels, and what you guys saw on the court.
I thought it was a great state tournament. I try to go every year. I used to go as a kid with my dad, and I played in the tournament. So I consider myself sort of like a connoisseur of the West Virginia State basketball tournament. And I was I was pleasantly surprised with a few of the crowds. I thought Wyoming East Logan Wednesday night was.
Yeah,
I was kind of like, this is almost like an old school 1990s type of crowd. There was a real buzz that I hadn't noticed the last few years, and I think I heard Wayne Ryan, the director, say that they sold like 7,600 tickets to the evening session Wednesday. So that's a nice crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, so I thought the tournament went great. I thought there were several good games. There was a lot of old school Southern West Virginia matchups. Like I said, I thought the crowds were better than they've been the last few years. And that could have been, Logan had an unbelievable cheering section and crowd there for Wednesday night. So you mix Wyoming County with that too. And that's just kind of a perfect storm. But I thought there were several great crowds and great games. And I thought it was a great state tournament this year.
I think too, where Chapmanville played before Logan, you pretty much had all of Logan County.
True.
Last one out, turn the lights out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, perfect time to commit a crime in Logan County was Wednesday night because everybody was at the tournament for sure.
I thought the Civic Center was great. The new seats look fantastic. I think overall the Civic Center looks wonderful. I think if they add a scoreboard to the middle of the ceiling, then I think
the same thing. If they had a jumbotron,
I mean, you're cooking with gas.
Absolutely.
If you add that too. So I thought it was a great state tournament.
Yep.
Going down the games here, Tug Valley took down Greater Beckley Christian 64-54 to secure the state title. Did you guys, were either one of you there championship Saturday? I know we were in and out.
I was there Saturday night for GW Spring Mills, but I had a travel tournament for my daughter, so I missed the first two games. But, I feel like Tug Valley almost needs to play double A at this point, as dominant as they've become in single A. And I know, they can't do anything about their school numbers and enrollment and stuff, but, man, what a basketball program they've become. And that's hard for me to say because they knocked me out of the tournament my junior year. So.
So a lot of eyes were on the Wheeling Central team. They beat Wyoming East 55-39. Autumn, I know you were there taking in some of their games throughout the course of the tournament. Talk about a little bit what you saw from that team.
So Wheeling Central is tough. They have the best player in the state with Eli Sancom. And, something that I loved, I was talking about this earlier with Jay, is I saw a clip on Facebook of Brock Johnson talking about how, Eli Sancom held him to 0 points. And Brock Johnson is not a player that's ever held to 0 points. And, Brock said, I thought I was a great basketball player, but that's a great basketball player, the guy that held me to 0 points. I've got a lot of work to do. And to me, that is a beyond mature response for a sophomore.
I agree.
And that spoke volumes to me and, really made me respect that Wyoming East team more than I already did, because I think that they are a bunch of, talented players. They have a talented coach in Kent McBride, but just hearing that, it made me more of a Wyoming East fan. So I'm looking forward to watching them next year.
Yeah, that was a super mature and classy response for a young 16-year-old probably. That was very impressive. Just had a tough game. And I agree with you on Central. They were fun to watch. And I had a thought this week after watching Sancom, because I'm not sure I was better than him. He's a great player. He's probably better than I was, and he's going to Liberty. I just wonder if back in the day he would have been a Power 4 recruit before this NIL and transfer portal has kind of ruined everything. That's a whole nother topic, but I just wonder if he could have, if he would have been offered by West Virginia possibly, or some other Power 4 schools back in the day before they're, recruiting these 30-year-olds.
Well, as the NIL transfer portal era, is upon us, he may not end up at Liberty. I think his skill set is way beyond
he's really good.
He's really good, and he's young,
right?
And he sees the floor really well, and his ball handling skills are
high level.
So agree. I look for him to really be able to take advantage of the portal if he wants to. Sometimes these guys go to schools, and that's where they want to be.
Yeah, but for somebody like Marshall, to miss out on a kid like that, you almost got to get him if you're Marshall, and maybe it's a money thing and they can't afford him. But from what I heard, he's not getting like a crazy amount from Liberty. So it's kind of confusing because I was really impressed with him. He's the best player I've watched in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. On the AAA level, Chapmanville knocked off North Marion 71-67. You mentioned before everyone in Logan County was at the Civic Center at some point this week. I thought Chapmanville looked great on the court. Good size, very athletic, were able to handle Winfield the night before. Pretty handily, I thought. So
they recruit well.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. I guess everybody does at this point.
Everyone does at this point. But I thought Chapmanville was a solid basketball team.
For sure, that big sophomore is a stud. You know,
Yeah,
he's got
Keaton Terry.
He's got potential to be a Power 4 player. I feel like if
Absolutely.
he continues.
Hey, listen, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue to talk about the state tournament. We'll also be joined by Derek Bailey, and we'll talk about the NCAA tournament. We'll do that when we come back here on Game On.
Keep it locked in. Game On will be right back after these messages.
When your vehicle is damaged in an accident, it's not only the damage, it's the inconvenience that's the problem. David Smith Frame and Body Shop has over 35 years experience in the business of not only fixing your vehicle correctly, but to work with your insurance company in helping arrange a rental. It's all in the experience of the people at David Smith Frame and Body Shop that make it a good experience for you.
I hope you don't need us, but if you do.
Like Papa says, isn't it nice to know David Smith Frame Body Shop is there for you?
As the game gets faster, stronger, more dynamic, your equipment has to keep up. Introducing the Riddell Axiom, the next evolution in football protection, designed to match the speed and strength of today's athlete. Contact West Virginia Riddell representative Casey Turley at 304-552-5960. 304-552-5960. Gear up, play smart, stay protected.
We're back in action. You're listening to Game On.
Thanks for keeping it tuned in to Game On. And I'm Anthony Lewis here in the studio with Jay Hewitt and Anna Martin as we continue our conversation about the West Virginia State basketball tournament. Great tournament at the Charleston Civic Center, but before we took a break, we had not got to the George Washington Spring Mills game. George Washington knocks off Spring Mills 64-58 in a double overtime game. You guys saw that game. I did not. I was in Morgantown, but your thoughts?
I thought Rick Green coached a great game. I have got great respect for Rick Green and what he's done with the George Washington basketball program. I mean, I'm not sure it's not the best high school basketball program in the state of West Virginia at this point. I thought they played wonderful defense. Chuck Kelly is about as valuable a basketball player that doesn't do like a lot of scoring and shooting and stuff as anybody that I can remember. I coached Charleston Catholic middle school boys for 3 seasons when Chuck was in middle school at John Adams, and they had a bunch of talented players. And I remember saying it during that time, I think I'd take Kelly over any of those guys. I mean, he's tiny. He doesn't do any, but every loose ball he gets, every rebound he gets, he takes the charges. He guards the best player. So I was really impressed with George Washington's defensive effort and their defensive intensity against Spring Mills there Saturday night. And I'm just super impressed with Rick Green. I mean, that's got to cement his legacy as one of the top high school basketball coaches of all time. I think that's his 4th state championship. And he just works it hard and does a great job. And he's a great guy, too. I mean, if you know him like I do, he's a wonderful guy. And so I'm just happy for Coach Green and happy that the state championship stayed here in the Valley and not up in the Eastern Panhandle.
And how about Dominic Sprouse?
Yeah, he was
locked in.
He was impressive. He's a great player for a 10th grader, for sure.
10th grade, yeah. And was 100% for his foul shots.
Yes.
I mean, that's not something that you typically see at the tournament.
And did Noah Lewis miss a free throw all week long? I mean, that guy lived at the free throw line, and he shot him at a wonderful clip as well.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was over 90%. I think I saw him miss one. That I definitely know of.
Yeah, for a big guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was over 90%. And I know for a fact, I know you shot there too. Shooting free throws there is hard.
It's different. You got that background that looks different for sure. And he's hard to keep off the line.
Yeah.
And if he's making them like that, gosh, he's hard to stop.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with George Washington.
Briefly, and before we get to Derek Bailey, I want to talk about Tavion Wilson from Huntington in person. Probably one of the most impressive young men I've seen in quite some time. Obviously, he is a 4-star athlete, from what I understand. Definitely 3, but 4-star and highly recruited to play football at Clemson. What did you think of Wilson with 29 points in the semifinal?
I was super impressed, and honestly, he was probably, if not one of the best the best player that I think that I watched at the tournament, in my opinion, because he was just all around so athletic on every single play, grabbing rebounds, strong, assist, making buckets. All I got to say is my parents are South Carolina transplants. They moved to Myrtle Beach, and they haven't quite picked a team yet. And so I told my dad we are now Clemson fans.
There you go.
And we are rooting for him because I loved his demeanor. I loved how athletic he was. And, we're super proud of our West Virginia guy going down to South Carolina to play ball.
I was going to mention his attitude.
Yes.
It was like he was having fun.
Mm-hmm.
There was no pouting.
No.
He seemed to be a great kid. Just watching him in that basketball game and talking about Noah Lewis, he kind of gave Lewis fits.
Yeah.
And Lewis got the size on him, and he was impressive. He's a great athlete.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to bring in Derek Bailey as we transition and talk about the NCAA tournament. The first 2 rounds are over. Derek, thanks for joining us here on Game On. How's it going?
Everything's going well. Thanks for having me on. Long weekend of basketball.
Yeah, did you miss any games?
I'll be honest. I fell asleep during the Texas Tech Alabama game. Alabama had hit about their 15th three and was up about 25 or 30, so I had to go to work on Monday and went to bed.
So next week, there's obviously a lot of big games coming up, with some of the upsets over the weekend. And, let's look at some of the early upsets on Thursday and Friday. High Point over Wisconsin, VCU over North Carolina. What'd you take away from those?
Well, the High Point Wisconsin game was surprising, but after you watch High Point play, they were pretty good, and they were number 1 in NIL in their conference. So, it's a surprising loss, I guess, for Wisconsin, especially the way the Big Ten performed later. And Wisconsin's one of those teams everybody knows if they get hot. They had won at Illinois, they had won at Michigan, they had beat Michigan State at home. All those teams are still left. That's a surprising game, but it's also that 12-5 game where it's not like that big of an upset. I'd say Wisconsin was probably like a 6.5 point favorite according to Las Vegas. And then Virginia Commonwealth was a little more. I actually picked Virginia Commonwealth to win, but the way and the fashion they won was very odd. They were down 19 points, and North Carolina, I felt, more lost that game than Virginia Commonwealth won it. But Commonwealth is one of those teams. They win all the time in the tournament, so it's no surprise that they really won to me.
Some other upsets over the weekend: Utah State over Villanova, TCU over Ohio State, which really wasn't that much of a shocker. But the one that stands out to me is the Iowa-Florida game, 73-72 on Sunday night. What'd you take away from that?
Now, that's the biggest upset of the tournament, in my opinion, and that one was, to me, the most surprising. To me, that's about like a 13 seed beating a 4 seed or so, maybe a 14 over a 3, because Iowa's kind of sputtered down the stretch. They don't have a lot of size, but Ben McCollum is unbelievable. He won 4 national championships at Northwest Missouri State, and he is an unbelievable coach. He's brought Bennett Sturts, who even had a bad game, and Iowa was still able to pull off the upset. Not sure what Golden was doing there. He pressed the ball, and it led to a wide-open 3 from the corner. And you can't give those up. That's almost like a layup for these guys at this point. Great ball game and a great win for Iowa, though. Very surprising. To me, that's a huge upset because Florida was probably in the top 3 or 4 odds to win the national championship.
Yeah, a lot of people had the Gators bringing that thing home. Quick question, though. Is Nebraska a basketball school now?
It's crazy. They've had more Sweet 16s in the last 10 years now than some of these blue bloods. If you're like, in the last 5, I think they've had as many as Kansas now. That's crazy when you think about it. And their football program has completely collapsed. So Fred Hoiberg's a good coach. If he can keep this going, they're more of a basketball school to me because their football program hasn't been good in, it feels like, 25 years.
The Big Ten is dominating in this thing. You watch a lot of Big Ten basketball. Obviously, you follow Michigan very close. But what are your thoughts on how dominant the Big Ten's been so far?
It's not really a surprise. The problem, I think, with the Big Ten, they haven't won the national championship since 2000, and that's what people look at. But if you go look at that conference, they've had several teams play in the championship game since 2000. Now, Indiana lost to a really good Maryland team. Illinois lost to a really good North Carolina team. Michigan State lost to a good North Carolina team. Michigan lost twice, once to Villanova, once to Louisville. Wisconsin's lost in it. They've had tons of teams advance They just can't get over that national championship hump. I'm not surprised at the success they're having. Michigan is absolutely huge across the front line, and Illinois is the biggest team in the country. So that's two teams that, like, their length and size give people problems. And then Michigan State always advances in the tournament. Izzo's a great tournament coach. So I'm not really surprised. Now, the Iowa game surprised me. I should say that. But, like, if you know about McCollum, you know he's going to come up with great game plans. He's familiar with this format because they have the same kind of a tournament in Division II where he had a lot of success.
Derek, did you throw up in your mouth a little bit and have to swallow it back down when you said Izzo was a good tournament coach?
I did. But, I mean, credit to the guy. He's got 8 Final Fours. I'm not – my disdain
right?
for him. Yeah, I just dislike him. But, like, he is a great tournament coach. I mean, he has a national championship and 8 Final Fours. I just don't like how his demeanor on the court is. And there's several guys that are that way. I mean, I don't know if you saw it over the weekend. Golden got into it with McCollum.
Sure did, yeah.
Golden's been into it with several coaches now. So, I mean, he's going to probably have that same kind of like, people are going to dislike him like they dislike Fairley and guys like that. And guys, I think right now I'm leaning towards an upset in the Sweet 16. I think Arkansas can beat Arizona. Acuff is fantastic, and that Brazil guy for Arkansas is phenomenal. I know Arizona's played extremely well, and they're huge, and it's a difficult task, but Acuff is so good.
He really is. He can beat you himself.
Well, we got the walking encyclopedia, Derek Bailey. Derek, thanks for joining us here on Game On. But when we come back, we'll be talking a little golf after this.
Tony the Tailor is well known for having the best quality suits and jackets available anywhere. But our strength is actually our sophisticated footwear and casual wear. From Brax pants to LBM soft jackets and Hagen shirts, Johnny O sportswear, DiBianco, Allen Edmonds, and Johnston & Murphy shoes, plus much more. We have what you need for work or at play. Tony the Tailor, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Since 1913, one organization has been the heartbeat of the greens in the Mountain State. Whether you're one of our 85 member clubs or among our 11,000 dedicated golfers, the West Virginia Golf Association is your home for the game. From preserving our rich history to promoting the next generation of players, we are your central source for all things golf. Join our community. Visit WVGA.org today.
The Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
We're back in action. You're listening to Game On.
Well, it's that time of year where people around the great state of West Virginia start to get their golf clubs out, get them cleaned up, and hit the golf course, mostly the driving range. I go just to the driving range just to go out and have a few beers and maybe some food while I'm there. But joining us from the West Virginia Golf Association, Mr. Chris Slack is joining us to talk a little bit about what's coming up this summer with the West Virginia Golf Association and some events. And also, we're going to get into the First Tee program. First of all, Chris, thanks for joining us here on Game On. How's everything going?
Yeah, no, I really enjoy y'all having me and having us. This season, we're excited. The weather's starting to change finally, and golf season is here in West Virginia. So we are excited.
Well, maybe because it might snow this week. You never know.
Well, that's a good point. But
spring in West Virginia, you just never know what you're going to get. So first of all,
yeah, absolutely.
So first of all, tell us a little bit about the West Virginia Golf Association and the things that you guys do for the game of golf across the Mountain State.
Yeah, so we're really everything golf in the state, and then people know us for different things. First and foremost, we are the arm of the USGA, the United States Golf Association. So we run basically all, in any competitive golf tournament. We have 20 championships. We have a one-day senior series. We have a one-day ladies series. We have a junior tour. That's comprised, and all of those are anywhere from 10 to our junior tour is over 30 events. We run high school events once the season starts in the fall. We run USGA qualifiers, and that's just on the golf side. You know, we help assist, we help officiate college events, high school events, USGA championships, and then we have members. We have just shy of 11,000 members who are members of the West Virginia Golf Association throughout the state. And that is, you know, we offer what included in the membership is what's as a GIN number, a GHIN number, the SGA. That's where you post your scores and keep a handicap index, as well as our VIP card, which is a discount access card to different courses throughout the state, resorts, private clubs are on there, and then most public golf courses are on there, so you can save a few bucks.
Nice.
And we also oversee the first tee of West Virginia. We have 8, which is youth development. Learning character education and life values through the game of golf for kids. You know, really 5 to 18. But it's more so at that elementary and middle school age. We're in right over 50% of the schools. So the first tee is offered in gym classes at elementary and middle schools, and over half the schools in the state, as well as 8 green grass facilities from the Eastern Panhandle to the Northern Panhandle, North Central, Parkersburg, here in Charleston, down to Beckley and Lewisburg as well. So that's kind of a 2-minute elevator speech, but obviously if you know, it has to do with golf, we are probably involved with it here in West Virginia.
You know, one of the nice things about golf is you can start to play. You mentioned starting at the age of 5, and you can basically play until they put you 6 feet under if you want to. But why
100%,
why is it important for young people to learn the game of golf, and also why is it important for you guys to get into these schools and get people started swinging the clubs?
Yeah, you know, I mean, like you said, golf's a game you can do your whole life, and golf's different from other sports. You know, I mean, you call penalties on yourself. It's a game of sportsmanship. You know, you kind of root for everybody, and the first tee teaches those values at a very young age. You know, you go to a golf course, people have their shirts tucked in. And, you know, it just feels different maybe than other sports do. So, and we obviously start at the first tee level, and we have a senior one-day series, and we have guys who are over the age of 80 years old still playing in tournaments. So we span a wide variety of people here in the state.
I think it's great for kids. Chris, this is Jay Hewitt. Thanks a lot for coming on with us. I think it's such a great game for kids to learn because it teaches great character. Like you said, you kind of officiate yourself. Sometimes you're in a spot where there is not one human watching you. You know, I've got a young son that plays, and I've told him before, like, you know, there are opportunities where there is nobody watching you. There's not an official. You're behind a tree. You know, you could definitely get away with some cheating here that nobody would know, but guess who does know? You know, it used to blow me away when kids would, and you know, I played high school golf for Richwood High School, and I used to know when kids cheated, and I remember thinking to myself, you didn't shoot that score. You can say you shot that score, you can sign for it, it can be in the newspaper, but you know when you woke up tomorrow morning that you didn't shoot that score. You know you had a double bogey instead of a par or whatever it was. So I think it's just a great game for kids to get into because it teaches such great character, and it's just a game. It's also a game that doesn't come easy to most. Like, you see LeBron James, like one of the best athletes in the world, just looking like an absolute clown trying to play golf. So I think it's also a great game for kids to learn, because it's just so frustrating and it's such a difficult game and it's a game that seems like it should be easy. It's just a little ball and I just got to hit it with this stick. And it seems like it should be so easy, but it's such a challenging and difficult game that I think it's just a fantastic game for kids to learn and fight through the adversity. And then you hit a good one and it's like, holy cow, I want to go back and do that again.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the nail on the head. Is you have the one good shot or two good shots, and then the next time you have 3 or 4 or 5 maybe, and
right.
It keeps you coming back and tracking your progress. You shoot a score, and you try to better that score next time out. So
right,
it is. There's a lot of ways to track your progress and really get excited about coming back the next time they go play.
Right, and it takes support. It's hard for a kid to just go out and golf by himself. That's why I think the First Tee program that you guys do is so great, because, like I said, golf is so frustrating. So for a young kid, I know especially my kids, they're just like, what in the world? What is this? I'm never going to get. So it takes a lot of support, too. So and I wanted to mention to you that Davey Potter, that you guys have hired to run the First Tee program here in Charleston, is a great friend of mine. And if he's not the best youth sports coach that I've ever been around or seen, he's one of the best. And he's made my daughter feel about as special as anybody ever has. So I just wanted to mention that to you guys. That as a great, nice, yeah. He's very involved with the Maddox Potter Foundation and everything, from the loss of their son from cancer. So Davey's just like, I'm not sure you guys could find a better person in America to run that First Tee program for you guys. So congratulations on Davey.
Yeah, no, Davey's been great. He's a good friend, been around the association for a while, because Davey plays too.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, we're very happy to have him, and like our numbers in the Charleston location on the First Tee are definitely really big, and a lot of that has to do with him and
right.
and his support, volunteers and whatnot that he has here in Charleston.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the high school basketball tournament, you guys were there last week, giving students an opportunity to win $100 gift cards on the putt. How much money did you guys give away last week?
So I actually was not there the last couple of days. I was out of town, but I think we had 6 winners on the week.
Nice.
Yeah, so we grab a student from each student section of all the first round games, and then they did a couple of the championship games on Saturday. But it's pretty cool. We're happy to kind of share the stage there with Chick-fil-A, as they're the main sponsor of the basketball tournament. But it's fun. It was. Jeff, who works in our office, it was his idea. I reached out to, and again, back to the high school tournament, our working relationship with the SSAC, and they were all in on us doing it last year. So this was the second year, and you know how the basketball tournament is. You have the same people go every year,
mm-hmm.
and we had so many questions about it through the year. Hey, you all doing that again? So it was pretty cool to see, and the kids who play on our junior tour and whatnot, they want us to pick them, and so
of course they do.
It's a pretty fun experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
so, go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Chris, will you talk just for a minute or two about that VIP card? I take my son Leo to Coonskin. We golf a lot, and they always mention to me, do you have the West Virginia Golf Association VIP card? And I don't. And golf is so expensive. I think that's a major boundary for a lot of people trying to get into it. So will you talk a little bit about that, what kind of savings that card might get you?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so you can buy the VIP card at any member club of the West of ours. And every course here in our, area, Huntington, Charleston, is a member club. But, you can go online to our website, WVGA.org, or just call us to get it, but it's $55,
and that's for the
card,
year,
which is so it's January 1 to December 31. The card's good till December 31st. So you can buy it today. It's good till December. You can buy it in January. But obviously, golf season really hasn't gotten here yet, so you still have plenty of time. But there's over 60 golf courses on there, the discounts vary based on the course and what the normal price is.
Okay.
But like a coonskin, for instance, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like $20 to play normally, and it's $15 with the card.
Right. Okay.
And then, but one cool thing, it does give you access to a few private clubs in the state, and then your resorts, like your Glade Springs, Stonewall, Oglebay, stuff like that. Those are where you see your kind of bigger savings.
Right.
Add on the card. So,
I got you.
But it's very, very popular. We've had it for years. I mean, I've been around. This is my 17th year as being a part of the WGA, and it's only gotten more popular really through the years.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Hey, just real quick, we got about a minute left here. Just wanted to talk about the upcoming tournament on the 30th. If you can give us a quick 30-second elevator pitch for the tournament on the Tri-State PGA Classic on the 30th.
Yeah. So it's an event that's about 4 years old. We run the Tri-State PGA section out of Pittsburgh. It's mainly for our golf pros here in the state, but we allow amateurs to play too. It's become a really popular thing. This will be our third year in a row starting at Guyane. So it's kind of more of a tradition now. But the weather looks good. We had snow at this event last year. So it's supposed to be around 70 Monday and Tuesday. So fired up to get our season started in Huntington on Monday.
Perfect. Chris, thanks for joining us here on Game On. When we come back, we'll have the Bogies Trivia Question of the Week. Stay tuned.
Text your questions or comments to 304-729-4465.
When your vehicle is damaged in an accident, it's not only the damage, it's the inconvenience that's the problem. David Smith Frame and Body Shop has over 35 years experience in the business of not only fixing your vehicle correctly, but to work with your insurance company in helping arrange a rental. It's all in the experience of the people at David Smith Frame and Body Shop that make it a good experience for you.
I hope you don't need us, but if you do.
Like Papa says, isn't it nice to know David Smith Frame and Body Shop is there for you?
Wally's and Wimpy's Daily Sports Digest has just what you're looking for sports fans. Keep up with West Virginia high school sports, college sports, and even the pros. Subscribe for just $4 per month, and it gets delivered straight to your inbox. Oh, yeah! Go to WallyWimpySports.com.
Is your business struggling with leads or brand recognition? 304 Digital Media can take your business to the next level. We specialize in cutting-edge websites, AI automation, and strategic branding campaigns, alongside expert social media management. It's time to end your frustration with marketing and partner with the pros at 304 Digital Media. Start your transformation today by visiting digitalmarketingwv.com.
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
All right, it's now time for the Bogies Barbecue Trivia Question of the Week. If you'd like for us to buy you lunch, text in the correct answer to 304-729-4465. And this week's question, courtesy of our friends at Bogies Barbecue at the Capitol Market. What West Virginia high school team won 8 straight AA state championships? I'll spit this out eventually. From 1974 to 1981, they actually set a national record for most consecutive championships for a public school. What AA high school in West Virginia won 8 straight state championships? If you know the answer, we're going to buy you lunch. $15 gift certificate to Bogies Barbecue, 304-729-4465. All right, over the weekend in Morgantown, the West Virginia Mountaineers hosted for the first time since 1992 the first rounds of the NCAA tournament, women's basketball. I got to go up on Saturday, and let me tell you guys, it was quite the scene. Traffic. It was like football traffic.
It looked like quite the scene. I was super stoked about the crowd. You know, I was so happy to see the crowds. I think it sold out in less than 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just happy to see the women, because I know when I played up there were a lot of women's games where there's like, you know, a couple hundred people in the crowd, it seemed like, and I always just felt like the girls deserved more. And I know if you win that they will come, and all that. But I was just super excited to see such a great crowd supporting the girls.
Yeah, West Virginia handled Miami of Ohio on Saturday. Kentucky handled JMU. And on Monday, West Virginia and Kentucky squared off for the right to go to the Sweet 16 as Kentucky takes West Virginia down, I believe, was it 73-72 or 74?
I think it was 74-73.
74-73 with a crazy ending with the ball almost going down. And then they had 0.2. What can you really do with 0.2 seconds?
Right, you're done at that point. And I think it's just a perfect example of, goes to show you how important matchups are in the NCAA tournaments, both men's and women's. Like, West Virginia women had a fantastic team, and they even shot the ball well in that game. It just seemed like Kentucky was so big and their length was such a problem. It just, matchups are so important in postseason basketball, and it just seemed like that may have been a poor matchup for West Virginia, possibly.
Yeah, I thought going into it after I watched West Virginia and Kentucky on Saturday, my scouting report, which means nothing, but was basically I thought West Virginia could basically run Kentucky out.
I think that's what everyone was hoping.
Yeah.
For a fast game and pressure them and up-tempo and run them off the floor. But Kentucky was huge.
Yeah, they were I remember on Saturday, as soon as the first buzzer and they walked out, I elbowed my buddy who was with me. I said, those girls are tall. That's a big basketball team. Length, there's not a lot you can do with that. Poor Jordan Harrison's, 5'6"?
Right.
Something like that. But
yeah, a
great season for the Mountaineers, topping it off with obviously a trip to the NCAA's. Hosting didn't go their way, but I thought, being able to come back and knock off TCU in the Big 12 championship was a big deal. They get to hang that banner.
Absolutely.
And that's something they can't ever take away from this team.
Right.
One of the most exciting years. Do you watch the women's team, WVU Women? Nope.
No, I haven't caught them much this year. I did forever ago, back when my girl Meg Bolger played.
Oh, yeah, Meg.
Love Meg.
Friend of the show?
Yeah, but I have not watched recently.
Well, they were a fun watch. They pressed and play. It reminded me a lot of the Huggins press Virginia teams where they just get after it and play super hard and play together. And they were a fun watch. I hope that they can keep Kellogg in Morgantown. I hope that he doesn't get an offer that he can't refuse and leave, because it seems like that has sort of happened in the past. And so I just, he seems like a great guy, and the fans like him, and he just seems like a terrific fit for Morgantown and WVU. So I hope that they can retain him and he stays.
Absolutely. Well, Autumn, what do you have for us in the news and notes segment?
Yeah, so speaking of WVU baseball swept BYU this weekend.
Well, so obviously with West Virginia's team winning the Big 12 championship, there was a lot of expectations. They had a lot of question marks on the mound. Max Yale, I believe I'm saying that right, Y-E-H-L, pitched 7 innings over the weekend, 11 Ks. I mean, that is dealing.
Yes.
When you're out there. And what I've been impressed with so far, I think they're, 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks into Big 12 play. Freshman David Perez, he's had 4 saves, struck out 15. He's come on to be their closer.
Right.
So that's the funny thing about baseball, especially in this NIL transfer portal era. West Virginia seems to be the team that goes out and finds guys, brings them in. So year to year, you don't know. It takes till about now, maybe sometimes into April,
sure,
to figure out what your rotation is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like basketball and gelling. It takes. I always say it takes till January to really see where teams are. I'm super impressed with the WVU baseball program as well. I mean, from where they've gone from when we were in Morgantown, Anthony, to they were playing over there in Hollyfield and Star City, and basically barely had a program. It's almost like they're a professional type of deal now. I know Ken Kendricks has been huge for the baseball program. I mean, Paul Skeens goes down there and trains with our pitching technology. It sounds like we've got top of the line type technology and equipment. So it just super happy for the WVU baseball program and how far it seems to have come along.
A lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely.
So we also had Jared Calhoun get hired at Cincinnati.
Jay?
Yeah, I know Jared a little bit. I went up to some player reunions when Huggins was coach. Huggins was huge on having the former players back. Is one of my favorite things about Bob Huggins is he he just acted like it was one of his most important deals is to get everybody back. And Calhoun kind of ran that whole deal when he was like the director of basketball operations before he got hired on as a full-time staff member. But Calhoun, I'm happy for Jared. He's an unbelievably hard worker and grinder and recruiter and salesman, and he's gotten after it for a long time, and he's just done really well. He made it all the way to the D2 title game at Fairmont, if you remember. So he's had an impressive uprise here, and did great at Utah State, and he just seems like a smart guy, and he's sort of Huggins' protege. I almost wish we would have sort of went with him instead of the interim, as much as I liked and had a ton of respect for Josh and that whole deal. But I think they maybe, looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. But Calhoun is he gets after it for sure.
Yeah, not to speak for my buddy Bob Huggins, but I know he is smiling because he's taken over. I guarantee you Hugs will be at the press conference. That's his guy.
I wouldn't be surprised if he moves to Cincinnati.
He probably had a little bit to do with that hire as well.
He did.
So congratulations, Coach Calhoun. I'm excited. I'm not excited that you're in the Big 12 because I know you're a winner.
Right.
But I'm excited for you and to see what happens.
Yeah, he's competitive. He'll get it going at Cincinnati, and he's an Ohio guy too. He's got unbelievable connections right there. I think he played at Cleveland State maybe as like a walk on.
Yes.
Went to high school right there, so that's a good hire for them. I feel like
absolutely.
And then also, we got Kim Caldwell from West Virginia, and she is Tennessee's head coach. And some are calling for her to be fired. She's 40-25 in 2 seasons at Tennessee. What do you guys think about that?
I think, she had a good year last year. Didn't she make it to the Sweet 16 her first year? And I know that they expect that every single year at Tennessee, so they're unhappy this year. I always wondered how that system would work in Division I. I think it worked. You don't see anybody really doing that in D1, and I always kind of wondered how that would work because there's so many media timeouts and stuff that disrupt the flow.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas they just keep coming at you in the D2 games, and there's not that disruption. And also, just subbing in 5 out like they do, like Crutchfield did at West Liberty and now does at Nova Southeastern. And I just I've always been curious and always wanted to see how that system would work in like major Division I with all the timeouts and stuff that occur for the media in the Division I. So I think it's going to take some time. And she has to have like a special group of players to play like that.
They have to buy in.
They got to be dogs, and it just takes a special type of player and person to be able to play in that system. So I think she'll be fine if they give her time, but that's a crazy place.
I think it's a totally unfair assessment of her so far. Yeah. She's a winner, and it's almost like that thing awesome. Where the Tennessee fans I almost feel like they're just waiting for Pat Summitt to like walk back through the door.
Right.
And the same thing with like the UCLA job. They're just waiting for Wooden to come back. I mean, these are
times change.
Times change. And now that's the hard part about the transfer portal era. If you get a group of girls in there and you've missed, or they get there and you've told them what you're going to do,
right,
and they don't buy in, that'll spoil your season. So I think they need to keep her around.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
I think firing her would be a big mistake.
I agree.
I think she dealt with a lot too. She had a player that she had to let go of that was one of her top players due to, I think, a drug, marijuana or something.
Right.
She had to set the standard, just because you're my best player, I'm not going to keep you around if you don't follow the rules. She had to, keep that up. So
absolutely,
she's dealing with that
also
too.
with the portal and the NIL and stuff, you have to wonder if playing that hard and that type of system will be able to be successful, because they can say, shoot, I'm just going to, I'll just go to Arkansas.
Well, folks, guess what? That's the end of the show. We're going to have to get out of here, but thanks to Derek Bailey for checking in today. Head over to GameOnWV.com. You can find us if you missed the show on your favorite podcast platform. We'll be back next week right here on this radio station.
Game On is produced by Anthony Lewis for 304 Digital Media in partnership with Vandalia Media.